Alright, first time seeing Pesci in a few weeks now. And she looks like she's doing great. She's bare dry there. We just had a tropical storm come through the area, but she held up really well. The water just rose up a little bit, and my grandma came to check out the boat and make sure that she was doing okay, but she just rose up to here. The water didn't actually come above our dock, but apparently it came above other docks. Tomorrow we plan to take the boat out all day long, and tonight we're gonna put on the first coat of teak oil. I just finished up brushing and cleaning off all of the wood that we want to put the teak oil on, and this will be step 3. We'll make the wood look nice and new and just bring it back to life. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. Alright, so we're going to undock here. The wind is coming from the port side, blowing us this way, so we want to keep the tension on the lines here connected to the dock. And we're off. Oh, there we go. That's always scary when that happens, but we good. All right. Lowering the keel. Alright, so we just let out the boom a little bit to catch a little bit more wind as we sail up Harris Creek. So, fun fact about Harris Creek is that it's the largest project that is working on oyster restoration, and they started back around 2013 where they dredged the creek to get things going a little bit, and then the next year they came in with barges and barges of oysters, and they planted the oysters here in the creek, and now the oysters can clean up the whole creek in 10 days and remove 1 million pounds of nitrogen from the creek, and making this creek the cleanest creek in the Chesapeake Bay. And we were one of the first and largest projects for this conservation of the Chesapeake Bay, and now that they've seen that this has worked, I'm sure in the future we're going to see more projects like this to help clean up the bay. Today we are setting sail towards the Sharps Island Lighthouse. It's located 3 miles south-southwest from the southern tip of the Tillman Island. Its namesake comes from the 17th century when the island had 3 owners, William Claiborne, John Bateman, Peter Sharp, and Peter Sharp was a Quaker physician, and his name was applied to the island. Sharps Island is one of the many islands that were once documented on maps that have since surrendered to the Chesapeake Bay. The current lighthouse is the third construction. The first lighthouse constructed was a wooden house structure with a lantern moon on top that held a lamp, and it was located on Sharps Island. The island was originally 900 acres of farmland. The original 900 acres of land had shrunken to 450 acres by the year 1865, which led the government to build a second construction of the lighthouse in 1865, and it was a screw pile lighthouse built at the tip of the shoals that extended from the tip of the island. In 1895, Miller Creighton, who was a wealthy Baltimore boot and shoe manufacturer, purchased the island despite the erosion concerns. He built a 3-story hotel with beautiful views of the mouth of the Choptank and Chesapeake Bay, and he built a steamboat pier for tourists to land on. Just 5 years after he had built and constructed the hotel and the steamboat pier, in 1900, the pier was overtaken by the bay. Soon after, the hotel also was overtaken by the bay, and in the future, we see the whole island is now underwater. This is not a picture of Sharps Island. Instead, it is actually Holland's Island, but it represents 400 other Chesapeake Bay islands that have eroded and disappeared. Chesapeake Bay is actually the most studied body of water on Earth. It has been found that the islands of the Chesapeake Bay were eroding so quickly during the late 1800s to early 1900s because of the Industrial Revolution, which occurred from 1760 to 1840. This introduced human introduction of nitrogen and phosphorus, other pollution, increased levels of CO2, and overall poor care for the environment. Local scientists and scientists around the world became concerned about the dead zones in the Chesapeake Bay, the shrinking water grasses, the decrease in wildlife, safety of the waters, and more. In 1972, the Clean Water Act was passed, and the main objective of this act was to restore and maintain the chemical, physical, and biological integrity of the nation's waters. Over the years, many other agreements have been passed and other ideas have been passed to help with this movement to make the water safe and more abundant in wildlife and water grasses and just overall make the bay clean. And now back to the Sharps Point Lighthouse. So it was made to warn mariners against shoals off of Poplar Island and Black Walnut Point. During the winter thaw of the bay on February 10, 1881, the wind-driven ice overran and swept the building from the screw piles and carried it 5 miles down the bay with the keepers still inside. When the house ran aground, the keepers were able to escape. The 3 different lighthouses suffered and battled many winters and erosion concerns throughout the years. The third and latest lighthouse was constructed in 1882 as a cast iron caisson filled with concrete and a brick-lined cast iron tower built on top. The tower stands 37 feet tall, which in total stands 54 feet above the mean water level. On February 1st, 1882, it was first lit, and it has survived the longest of the 3 structures through many, many winters. Its characteristic 15-degree tilt came from a tough winter from 1976 to 1977, where the large ice floes, some piling up on the flats to the heights of 40 feet, had pushed against the tower and gave it its characteristic tilt. And to this day, it stands with a tilt. The Coast Guard deactivated the flashing white light with a period of 6 seconds and a red sector.
One. Oh no, we're getting pushed by the current. We're getting pushed back. Oh, we're tacking.
Tacking. What do you think? Pull the boom in? Put it out.
There's just no wind. Doesn't matter.
I got a school of fish jumping.
If it wasn't so jellyfishy, you could
Go for a little swim.
and then swim around the back and use line. Oh, I saw a jellyfish right there.
Yeah. I bet, you know, it'd be kind of fun to put out a little floaty.
Yeah.
Like a big one though. Onward. What are you doing? Are you standing on the hatch? You can get back down here before the jet skis come. Got a few jet skiers. Our fancy smancy auto steer. No hands.
Like mine.
I grew up on Harris Creek right here in Bosman, Maryland, and I was always enthralled by the water because of my unique upbringing here on the eastern shore of Maryland. I have acquired a strong draw leading me back to the Chesapeake Bay and craving more to explore around this beautiful area. There's such a rich history to the Chesapeake Bay, and this is something that I want to learn more about through a new lens of sailing. I'm excited for the journey of learning to sail, along with experiencing the nature and histories in a new way. So Colin, why are you so excited to get back out onto a sailboat?
Because it runs in my family with my dad.
Mm-hmm. When did he first start sailing?
I think he first started sailing like a couple years after he was working as an accountant, and he was in his early 20s, mid 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and he just wanted a change of pace, and so he quit his job and bought a 25-foot sailboat and sailed up and down the East Coast to Florida and Maryland a couple of times.
Wow, that's amazing. What kind of boat was it?
It was a Coronado 25-foot, very similar to
This boat
Pesci.
here. Yeah, so when he saw this boat, he was like, wow, this looks like a replica of my original boat that I sailed up and down the East Coast from Maryland to Florida after he quit his accountant 9-to-5 job for a little bit. And he kind of took that risk, and I think he fell in love with sailing after that. And to keep him going throughout his trip, didn't he work on the Florida Keys a little bit?
I'm not sure.
Like he did some sailing kind of work. I think he like helped build a keel or something. I don't know. We'll have to ask him more about that. So I think that's pretty cool. When Colin and I were first dating, we're married now, almost 2 years. So I think I mentioned St. Michael's, how I grew up around here.
It was on a family vacation in like 2012, maybe 13. I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We rented a catamaran as a family for a week around 4th of July, just to go sailing as a family.
How many years did you do that?
So we were in the shipping channel in the bay, and we just kind of noticed that the front anchor was just dangling a little bit, and so we had an electric winch that you just pushed with your feet. There were buttons on the ground, and we wanted to bring the anchor up a little bit, make it a little more taut, and you click the up button,
Mm-hmm.
and then the anchor just came off of its hinge and just went
Bloop.
straight down the water, and then you just see 100 feet of chain flying past you at 20 miles an hour.
Oh no.
And you're not going to get your fingers in there, otherwise you won't come out with 10. And so it kept going for like 30 seconds, and then it got caught
Mm-hmm.
on where the chain became rope. And so we're sitting in the middle of the shipping channel of the Chesapeake Bay with 100 feet of anchor chain sitting on the magothy floor.
Oh no. So how did you get into St. Michael's then?
Well, we
'Cause
had
St.
to,
Michael's was the closest town.
well, yeah,
right?
so we had to eventually cut the anchor rope part with a butter knife. That was the only knife we had available for some reason.
Oh
And,
no.
So then we were anchorless,
Mm-hmm.
and so we went to the nearest town to find a anchor and some chain, which happened to be St. Michael's. And we were kind of walking down the main strip, and we were just kind of walking through different stores, and we walked into this Native American store, and this very kind older man said hi to us and welcomed us, and kind of looked around for a little bit and then left.
But once Colin said that he walked into a shop in St. Michael's that sold Native American goods, and he said hi to a nice, kind, elderly man, I was just shocked because that's my grandpa. I mean, there's no other store like that. So I just thought that was a really great fate moment
You know,
that he met my grandparents before we were even dating.
like
So
7 years before we started dating.
yeah,
It's pretty cool.
that's a pretty great parallel
Mm-hmm.
in our lives. And Dad finally got back to sailing last year, which kind of fueled our interests again to sail. And we thought this was a really great time to do it, so we're learning as we go. And this boat is absolutely perfect. It's a San Juan 21, and it was built in 1974 by Clark. We're the 5th owners. The last 3 owners had a connection to a Betty. And
A person named Betty.
A person named Betty. The second owner sailed from Ireland to America and named the boat after his girlfriend at the time, the Betty. And funny thing is, as the 5th owners, I had a grandma named Betty, and so did the past 3 owners after that second owner with a girlfriend. So that's pretty funny that, you know, we all have a connection to a Betty.
So
But
that's the rule. If you own this boat, you have to be connected to a Betty.
yes, I think that's going to be one of the interview questions with if we ever sell Pesci. Do you have a connection to Betty? But
let us know in the comments below if you know a Betty.
yes, let us know. But we really love this boat because it has a retractable keel, which is like one of the really cool things, because around our dock in Harris Creek, the depth can get as shallow as 3 feet, which most sailboats, if you're getting a little bit larger than 23 or 25 feet, those have a draft of usually like 4.5 feet. So it took some research to find boats that would work out around here, because otherwise I don't think that we would have been able to afford having this as a hobby. Like a nice size that we could fit 4 people comfortably,
6?
up to 6. So yeah, we'll bring some friends and test that out, see how it goes. We won't go above 6, but it's a really nice size because I feel like I'm not like stressing out too much. Like we just kind of put the sail up, steer it straight. We can retract the keel if it's getting shallow around here, but I mean, we're one of the more shallow boats. So if there are other boats out, it's probably okay. So we're getting closer to the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay now. We're just inching because there's barely any wind. It's 3 knots, if that. But I'm so curious to see what it looks like, so we have all the time in the world today. But over here on the starboard side of the boat, in this cove here, I believe that should be Knapp's Narrows. Which has some really great restaurants in there, and you can fuel up over there. There's a good drawbridge that will lift up and down.
motored for probably like what, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Probably 15. Alright. So, there's barely any wind today. It was supposed to be 7 to 15 knots of wind today, but I don't think it even got up to 7 at any point during the sail today. It's taken us about 2.5 hours to get over here. And I think we still have another like 2 miles to go, so we're not gonna make it over to the Sharps Island Lighthouse, but we've enjoyed our ride and I think we're just gonna motor back today. We just need to kind of figure out how long we can motor for before we're more comfortable to go out further distances, especially when there's no wind. But yeah, so this is Chesapeake, mouth of Chesapeake this way. Naps Narrows is on the starboard side over here, and then on the port side we have the mouth of the Choptank. Alright, tack, and then we'll take the sails down.
Well, there's some wind going back, so let's see.
Okay. Alright, you gotta duck a little bit more, Colin.
I've got a duck or I've got a loon?
That was funny.
Actually, I don't think we need to tack.
Oh, we don't need to? Okay. Oh. Tacking. Alright. We're gonna take this sail down, so we're gonna pull the boom in. And we'll do topping lift. I'm gonna lock it. I'm gonna start the engine.
Engine!
Start your engines!
You should put that in the video. See if we can edit that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Broom, broom, got the horses in the back.
That's right.
Alright.